Right mates, how's it going? In today's video, episode 17 of Beyond the Dark Portal by Aaron Rosenberg and Christie Golden. It's another big battle, which you can just use your imagination for, because I'm just going to gloss over it again. Let's go! Illyria and Turalyon emerged from his quarters in the early hours after their reconciliation, to knowing grins on the faces of the other Alliance expedition members. But there was also a hint of genuine happiness in the air, which was nice, considering they all potentially faced death today. But Illyria then buggered off quickly to discuss the finer details with her rangers, and then returned to inform the others on their decisions. We will douse the lights for 10 heartbeats, then relight them if we've taken the watchtower. Turalyon nodded. He was feeling much better about the idea of Illyria fighting out of sight now. She had returned to herself again, meaning she would no longer take any unnecessary risks. His plan was pretty straightforward. Daneth was to lead the initial decoy charge, engage the orcs in combat, allowing Illyria and her rangers to open the gates, and then Turalyon would lead the main fighting force in. This meant that Daneth and his men would be outnumbered for a little bit, but not for long.
It'll be harrowing for a while. You'll have to trust that all is going according to plan. It's fine. I trust you, Turalyon. Plus this time we're the ones taking those green bastards by surprise. My boys, the ones I lost, they'll be at peace when we trap the orcs between two fronts. Daneth.
However, whatever Turalyon was going to say, Daneth waved it aside.
I've no death wish. Don't worry about that. I want to get home one day, and I want to bring my lads home with me. I don't want to write one more damned letter that begins with, "It is with deepest sympathy."
Once again, Turalyon nodded and gripped his second shoulder. Everybody knew their part to play in this battle, and now it was time to get it done. Turalyon's group moved quickly and quietly through the night until reaching their position, and then waited for the signal. Whilst waiting, Turalyon gazed at the citadel. It was utterly hideous, somehow angular but organic at the same time, as if it was some kind of massive beast. But then, there, up on the walkways, one of the lights went out. Turalyon counted to 10, and sure enough, the light was then relit. This repeated until the final light was doused and relit, and then the sound of human battle shouts filled the air, and the thunder of hooves. Turalyon desperately wanted to charge in too, but forced himself to wait. The rangers still needed time. Their opportunity to open the main gate would only come after the orcs manning it were called to fight Daneth's decoy force. Every second that passed was agony, but eventually Turalyon heard the clashes of steel and the bellow of war cries. The battle had begun. It was finally time.
May the holy light grant us strength. May it guide us in this endeavour, leading us to victory, to honour and glory.
Turalyon then started to glow, and the Alliance soldiers behind him all cheered, and then they charged, right towards the gate to the citadel. And sure enough, it started to open.
She did it! Of course she did. She's Illyria Windrunner.
Illyria and her rangers emerged from the gate, but behind them followed a whole bunch of orcs as well. But there was no need for stealth anymore now that the gate was open, so the main Alliance fighting force charged right through them. And in a matter of minutes, Turalyon had fought his way through the courtyard, up several flights of stairs, all the way up to the citadel's ramparts. From here, he could gain a better overall view of how the battle was currently going. Most of the orcs were still down below fighting the Alliance head-on, and there were long black figures circling above, black dragons, but they seemed to be waiting for just the right moment to join the fight for some reason. Turalyon then spotted Daneth, fighting fiercely whilst covered in blood and gore. It was not human blood though, and it seemed like he hadn't lost many men at all thus far. The light truly was with them. They were winning. However, some orcs then caught up with Turalyon up on the walkway, so he turned his attention to defending himself, and just as he struck the last of them down, a loud shriek came from above. Guess the dragons had decided to finally help. But the Alliance had prepared for this with a plan of their own. Thick cloud cover suddenly filled the sky, and those clouds then broke apart to form a haze of fog above the citadel, making it slightly difficult to see anything. And the fog also seemed to play tricks with sound as well. So the dragons above all started flying in circles, heads bobbing about trying to figure out what the bloody hell was going on, seeking the source of the whooping sounds they could all hear. But they didn't have to search for long, because a small shape then plummeted out of the fog and attacked. The remaining dragons all roared their rage and hurtled towards the lone griffin rider, only for a bunch more griffins to drop from the clouds and attack as well. Even though each dragon was easily 4 times the size of a single griffin, the Wildhammers had agility and speed on their side. Looked to Turalyon as if Khadgar's earlier boast might in fact prove to be true. If they kept this up, the Wildhammers would be done with those creatures soon enough to lend a hand down here. One of the griffins then broke away from the rest and swooped down towards Turalyon. There were 2 peeps sat on its back, one small and the other large, and the larger one jumped down as soon as they were close enough.
I'll come help you when I'm done here.
Khadgar gripped his staff in one hand whilst drawing a sword with the other.
There's someone in there. An ogre mage. I need to deal with him first.
Dralion respected Khadgar enough not to question him on the matter, so he just nodded for the millionth time, and then turned his attention to two other soldiers that were hurrying over.
Sir, we've cleared the north wing. Good. I'll leave a few men here. The rest of you, with me. Let's clear the rest of these bastards out.
Khadgar made his way forward, with his eyes and ears open. He could sense the ogre, but for some reason they didn't seem to be doing anything. No spell casting, no rituals. They were simply waiting. Waiting for him. He then stepped inside a tower, and then into a large room. Appeared to be a throne room. The throne itself was empty.
My master is gone.
A massive figure then stepped out from the shadows. There he was, the ogre mage.
Gone.
The ogre grinned, revealing its sharp teeth and large fangs.
Indeed. He left here some time ago. Even now he's travelling to perform the ritual whilst your alliance is fighting its way past us. We may die, but our deaths will ensure that the Horde lives on and conquers worlds without end.
Shit. Another feint, Khadgar thought. Getting tricked by the orcs had gotten real old real fast.
Nonetheless, if we're fast enough we can still go after him. We could. But first you'd have to get past me. I am Dentag, of the Shadowmoon clan.
An honourable duel then. So be it.
Khadgar, of Dalaran.
Both combatants then raised their hands and panged a whole bunch of magic into each other's faces.
We're well matched. Perhaps.
More magic stuff then happened. Dentag clapped his hands together, shrouding the room in darkness for a bit, but Khadgar simply slammed his staff down, causing a shockwave that split the darkness. And then they panged a bit more magic in each other's faces or something. But in an ironic turn of events, Dentag then charged directly towards Khadgar, and the human mage simply sidestepped the attack, sliced with his sword, and cut the ogre down with a fatal blow.
GG, Dentag. GG. Good news. We hold the Citadel. We were tricked. Nazul isn't here. He left well before the attack. He must have taken the artifacts with him. So it was all a diversion then, and we fell for it.
Dralion frowned, trying to desperately think of a reason why this hadn't been a colossal waste of time.
Still, this was undoubtedly the bulk of their warriors, and we crushed them. We've taken their citadel. Their military might is broken for good. Aye, they'll not field another army again anytime soon.
Danath approached, his armour battered, with several cuts on his arms, legs and face, but he didn't seem too bothered by his injuries.
You did a fine job, Danath, but Khadgar's discovered some ill news. Their leader isn't here.
Well, we'd best be after him then, eh? Gurdren and Illyria then joined, luckily overhearing that last bit so Dralion didn't have to explain yet again the thing we've established like 3 times now.
Do you know where they were going? I don't, but I can find out. I know Gul'dan's magical aura from the war, and I know the Eye of Dalaran. I can trace both.
Khadgar then closed his eyes and muttered something beneath his breath, and the rest of the group waited patiently until Khadgar's eyes suddenly snapped open again.
Found them. Only there's a slight problem. They're in 2 different locations. What? The skull and the eye aren't together. Why would Nazul let either one out of his sight? I don't know, but he has. The skull went north, the eye went southwest. I sensed the Book of Medivh that way as well, which makes me think that's the way Nazul went. But I need both the skull and the book. I can't close the rift completely without them. Then we'll have to go after both. Danath, I think you'd like to kill a few more orcs? Indeed I would, sir. Then you go after Nazul. He's got a head start, so Gurdren, you and your Griffin Riders scout ahead. Find them, slow them down if you can. Danath will follow with ground forces. Take some of my rangers with you. They'll help with the scouting.
Dralion smiled his thanks to Illyria before continuing.
Your job is to destroy Nazul and bring back those 3 artifacts.
Consider it done, lad. And with that, Gurdren and Danath saluted and buggered off.
That leaves us to get the skull.